Welcome to another edition of No Veteran Left Behind USA's Warrior Wisdom and Wellness. Now here's your host, Diane Young.
Hello, I'm Diane Young, the host for Warrior Wisdom and Wellness, and I'm excited to be here today and introduce you to Tom Buhler, who is a spiritual advisor and mindfulness teacher. Patricia actually recommended you, thinking that our audience could benefit from understanding more about what you're doing. So I'll just let you introduce yourself and explain a little bit about what these positions are and how our members can benefit.
Wonderful. So as Diane said, I'm a spiritual guide, sometimes called a spiritual companion. I was trained in this at the Sienna Retreat Center in Racine, which has had a program for this over 20 years now. It's a 2-year program that I recently completed. So now I'm launching my practice and spreading the word on what spiritual guidance means. And basically, a spiritual guidance session involves a relationship between the spiritual guide or companion and the seeker, the person who's interested in learning, and the third party being sometimes called God or the Holy Spirit or the universe. I use the term universal force of love. So it's really a relationship between those three entities that is shared in typically a face-to-face session, but sometimes it can also be a virtual, online meeting.
Very nice. It's actually been around for a long time, hasn't it?
Right, it has. As I mentioned, this spiritual guide training program at Sienna Center has been around for over 20 years. And but if you talk about, like, historically speaking, it's pretty common that people will go to ask questions about the purpose of life and how can I achieve my true heart's longing. That's been going on for thousands of years.
Very nice. So what does a spiritual director or guide companion do? How does that work?
Well, we will work with the seeker to assist them in answering or seeking answers to sort of the deep questions of life. So I just have a list of things that the spiritual guide will do. They offer deep listening, which helps people find and follow their own spiritual path. They ask insightful, open-ended questions that help people connect with their authentic selves. They allow space for stillness and silence to help people become aware of what is deep within them. They build trust and openness by being authentic, kind, and open themselves. They do not proselytize or seek to influence or convince, but instead walk alongside people as they make their individual and unique spiritual journey. They honor the free will and discernment of each human being, especially in spiritual matters. Typically, it's going to be someone who makes spirituality a key component of their own life, someone who is a good listener, and someone who's able to switch gears to companion people that have different interests or different needs from their spiritual guidance practice.
Okay, that sounds good. So more of listening and understanding or helping somebody understand what they're looking for rather than telling them how they should think.
Exactly.
Is that okay?
Right.
Great. That makes a lot of sense.
Mm-hmm.
So an objective point of view and helping them discover their way, right?
Yeah, I don't know if I'd use the word objective because there's a lot of sort of intuition and nuance.
Okay.
But it's definitely led by the seeker. So like a typical session is usually like a 50-minute get together, and the seeker is expected to come with a question or a situation in their life that they want to ponder. And so it all starts with them, and then it's opening up this space, a very safe space for them to explore those things and see where it goes.
Sounds pretty comfortable. So who would typically be interested in a spiritual direction?
These are tend to be people that are interested in looking at their lives, looking at, is my life matching the desires that I have for my life? Is what my life, how it's working, is it meeting the longing in my heart for what I would like my life to be? So these are people that are serious about understanding or knowing better their true purpose in life and wanting to manifest that in some way.
Wow. So a lot of times in the healing retreats that we do at the center, we hear that people, they claim to have no religion or no belief because their religion, if you will, or their beliefs were kind of forced on them in childhood.
Mm-hmm.
And so we encourage them to, consider, what is appropriate for them, just to be open-minded. And sometimes we find that they're angry with God or the universe or whatever their belief is to have allowed kind of trauma to happen to them. And so it sounds like this would be a really good step for somebody considering, wow, how did I get to this point in my life, and what do I believe that's going to help me move forward?
Yes.
Right?
Yeah, I think that I was in spiritual direction for 14 years. And the word God, I think maybe came up twice, I mean, we just didn't take that approach. For me, it was really about learning about myself and doing what we call inner work about, am I being authentic in my approach to my life? And that was really, really beneficial for me. It's helped me a lot. And that's why I went into this, is because I benefited a lot from doing it. And so I wanted to be able to help I wanted to be able to offer this to more people.
Wow, that's awesome.
Thank you.
I think there's a great need for that these days. Definitely.
Yeah.
All right. And you mentioned being a spiritual director. Is there anything more you wanted to add about that?
Well, it's that there are different styles. People have different styles. Some people might be more traditional religious, and if you're looking for that, you can find them. There's an organization called SDI, which stands for Spiritual Directors International, and you can go to their website and find a spiritual director. There's several hundred there, so you can look by geographical region and by type. And it's really important to find somebody that you're comfortable with and that is ready to help you to move on the spiritual path in the direction that you want to go.
Definitely, that makes sense. And so what do you think are some of the bigger benefits of having a spiritual direction session?
Well, I can really just speak for myself to say that I feel more grounded. I feel more at peace with myself. I feel like I can be more authentic in the way I lead my life. So I feel like it's been a very good personal growth process for me.
I think that's a real need these days, is to feel like we're being authentic and living more towards our purpose. And a lot of people have not had the opportunity to consider what is their purpose. So this sounds like it would be very beneficial. And how do you make spirituality kind of the center for your life?
For me, I've taken sort of what you might call a contemplative approach. So I've been meditating for a long time. I have a daily meditation practice. I do yoga. I am interested in learning more about many kinds of spirituality and pathways of spirituality. So that for me is my way. But there's an expression that there are many doors to the temple. So, everyone needs to find their own way.
Very nice. That sounds pretty calming as well. And wouldn't our world be a much better place if we had less stress and people that were aware of what is happening with them and more centered in their life, feeling more integrity rather. So if people have questions, how can they contact you?
So I can be reached at my email address, which is tbuhlerbud@gmail.com. My profile is also on the SDI website that I mentioned. So those would be the two best ways to find me. I also want to mention there's also a Milwaukee Spiritual Guide website, which is MKE SDI. And
Nice.
so then you'll just be seeing spiritual guides that are located in the Milwaukee area.
Wow, thank you.
Mhm.
And are you on LinkedIn?
I am not.
Okay. That's where I prefer to go, so I just wanted to know if I
Yeah,
could catch up with
it's
you
a good
there.
idea. Maybe I should do that.
Thank you.
Mhm.
And we'll include the email so that others can find you as well. So thank you for being here with us today and sharing all of this information with our audience. This is really valuable, and I learned a lot from it, and I'm going to look into this more because I definitely want to be more grounded and in integrity with who I am and my goals. So
Wonderful.
thank you.
Thank you, Diane.
And thank you all for listening, and I will close this episode of Warrior Wisdom and Wellness.